we're back here again for another Refuge Mixdown, episode 4. We've invited along Melbourne Drum Authority and label mate Pinto. Melbourne guys, how you doing?
Really good.
Great, man.
Awesome. And
Great to be.
yeah, we got our boy Pinto NYC. Pinto, what up?
Guys, how you guys doing?
He's a bit camera shy, so well, he's drinking a margarita, so we'll get him going in a little bit.
Cheers.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
So look, we kicked off, for anyone watching, we kicked off this series to dive into the behind the scenes and understand why. We're always talking about the music, and we always forget about talking about the artist and what drives them, why they wrote the records, and understanding their influences and things like that. So really just trying to kind of get underneath the covers a little bit. So I'll start off with some questions, and we'll just go from there.
Sounds good.
So let's talk about the name. What is Melbourne Drum Authority? Why is Melbourne Drum Authority? I'll flick it to Brad first, and then Pete, we can get into you.
I think for this particular project, Pete and I just wanted something that was kind of us. Like, those that don't know, like, Pete and I have been best friends since we were like 8. We've been writing tunes together since we were probably 15. We had our first release when we were 16 on quite a big label at the time. So I don't know, we just wanted something super authentic and something that kind of felt like us, hence the Melbourne title. And I don't know, Drum Authority, it was just something that we were kind of flicking between. And I don't know. Pete, how does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. So to confess, I live in Sydney, but I'm from Melbourne. So I think we didn't want to call it Sydney Drum Authority because no one would listen to it. I think Melbourne Drum Authority holds more weight. Melbourne's got a more defined sound, I think, globally as well. Sounds more housey. And I think the Drum Authority was just a way to sound more organised as well.
Yeah.
To sound like it's a little bit bigger than us.
Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah,
nice one.
Yeah, we like it.
Yeah, it's a cool name. Like, when I first heard it, I was like, all right, I see what you're doing here. I'm interested in the Fido Dido, which is showing our age here, but a little bit throwback.
Okay. You're amongst
a little throwback.
Yeah, that 7-Up vibe.
It's got a questionable acronym, but apart from that, it's a pretty cool name.
Yeah, well, I had a couple of people who were like, really? Is that what they call themselves? MDA?
Yeah.
Man, I work in a pretty corporate environment, and I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago, and I was sending tracks to a guy in my team. Chill dude, whatever. And it was really funny because my boss got wind of it, and he was like, yeah, man, send me some stuff. And I just couldn't snake my way out of it. And I was like, all right, fine. I sent it, and he's like, and he brought it up in the team. He's like, Brad, can I ask? And there's probably, 15 people or something in this team meeting. He's like, Brad, I've got to ask, what's the acronym? Is that intentional? I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, you're missing an M. I'm like, woo.
Yeah.
so
meeting adjourned.
But it was all yeah. It was taking the piss a bit, but it was funny. I was like, oh shit, man. But quickly kind of diverted the combo, but yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, man.
Oh, well, that's class. Pinto, you up, baby?
So how long have you guys been working together? Have you ever made tunes before, separate as separate artists, or has it always been a kind of jointed thing? How did this, how long has it been going on for?
I think because we've been mates for so long, it goes through waves. So we'll go through different discoveries of genres and stuff. So previous projects have been more harder or more what was in trend at the time. But house music's always been the spine of everything. So we do separate projects. So I've got one called Tiger Mind as well, which I do on the side. And Brad's got some other solo stuff he does. So it's something where it's hard because we live in different cities. So to collaborate is really challenging. And it's just the timing, I guess. So the timing now is this sound. It works for us. It works with our schedules. And we just like what's coming out at the moment. So it's like a resurgence of house. I don't know. What do you reckon, Brad?
Yeah, man. It's interesting because when I throw back to like when we were 16, when we were discovering house or discovering music, house was always a predominant theme. And I don't know, you guys have been in the scene for a little while. You kind of know, like, house wasn't always something commonly played on the radio or Triple J or, you know, whatever the medium was. It wasn't around. So you'd have to describe what house was. And, you know, often like when I was describing it, it's like, you know, it's got a kick and it's got a snare and it's got a hat, it's a close hat. And they're like, okay, is it like a band thing? And also, like, I think computer music, when I was a kid was like, man, that's not cool. It's all about bands. And so it's kind of weird. Like the biggest thing that grabbed me was buying records at the store. There was like, back in the day, there was something called Sanity where you could buy records from. And man, like this house thing, I would just kept digging around and finding all these like disco infused kind of house jams that just gripped me so hard. And I, you know, when I was 16, I was like, I have to buy some turntables, but I couldn't afford it. Right. So, you know, it was kind of all about like saving and trying to buy records and finally getting the turntables. And that house, like the theme, like the old school, like Roulette Records, Critter Mall, Grand Prix, for any of the heads, you know, those labels, like that's kind of what gripped me into house. And still to this day, like even later on down the track, I was like, man, I couldn't figure out why I loved the sound so much. And it was disco and soul and funk and hip hop. And it was later when I kind of started to mature that I understood that it was disco was the common theme and funk was the common theme, and 70s and 80s. And so now it's always been a thing for Pete and I to be into house and to be just sending tunes back and forth. But now it's kind of funny because both our schedules kind of align a bit better. And you know, we randomly made a tune like I think it was over Christmas. I flew up and we just started writing again, and it just felt good and authentic and fun, and that's what we wanted it to be. So
it's about,
we're not trying to cater. We're not trying to cater to anyone. Like we're just trying to have fun and, you know, write and just, you know, we send sessions back and forth. I'm like, man, that's sick. What about this? And then we'll just keep layering and having fun with it. So I think I got off track, but
no, that's fine, man. Well, I mean, look, that's kind of was kind of bleeding into my next question, which was why the change in sound and what it sounds like is MDA took a turn resound as opposed to the previous projects that you guys have done. And you answered it perfectly. I mean, you know, for us as well, as a label, as an avid, you know, music listener and DJ, like I've grown up in like salsa bands and, you know, like close alignment to like, you know, Fania, which is like the biggest salsa label ever, and like the New York sound, which kind of is how I linked up with Pinto and that authenticity to like, I don't know, just such an OG unapologetic sound. And that's what I've always liked about it. And I hear that in the way you guys are making music at the minute, which is kind of what grabbed me. It was just like, I see what you're going for and you're nailing it and you're not copying, but you're paying homage, which is literally everyone trying to do every record now, you know, is trying to do it in a smooth way where you're letting the people before you know that they've inspired you to do something cool, but you're flipping it with a little, you know, 2020 feel to it. And
appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
It's super refreshing for us anyway.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it.
One of the core fundamentals of this project versus other projects is we're trying to be more sample driven, not synth driven. It's easy to get into the trap of writing a programmed bass line with a programmed melody with programmed synths, and it sounds sequenced. It doesn't sound organic. So Brad had the idea. It's like, let's just get good quality samples. Doesn't have to be a lot of it. Reinvent it with some cleaner beats. Make those big drops, like just whatever people want these days. And that seems to be working pretty well. And so now like some of the stuff we've got coming is leaning more into that 303 aesthetic bass lines, those 1-bar bass lines. And Joey, listen to some of your stuff, like that latest EP you've got, fantastic, by the way. But yeah, there's like
Which one? Because he's like throwing out music for fun right now.
And it was the live EP. That was really good. I love those radio mixes. They're really, really tight. And I noticed that you use a lot of half bar, full bar loops rather than your 4, 8, 16s. And I like that. I like that. The energy, the grind that you get from that is just, that's what we want. We want to just be able to just grind the dance floor like that.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, look,
And what?
we're hearing it. We're hearing it in the result, you know, like it's dope. It sounds good. Immediately you got like that toe tap, shoulder, you know, a little bit of a jack. It's like, okay.
Yeah, a bit of it. Yeah, jack's a good word to describe it.
Yeah.
Nothing like that jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you want to change it up, Ask? Go to
No, we've got a couple more. Let's go through the next one. What was the next one?
All right, I'll go. I'll be there. So, are there any like key artists that like inspired the sound? Anyone? I know you guys came from like the disco and the soul and the funk, kind of similar to mine. But is there any artists, recent or in the past, who just kind of really inspired what you guys are doing right now?
Go, Brad. You go first.
There's too many. It's funny actually. Like. Ron Bass Jam's been a big kind of influence on me. He's also a fucking legend too, so I don't know if I can swear. But in terms of, I don't know, like I think growing up has been like a bit different. All the classic kind of French guys, like DJ Falcon, Thomas Bangalter, like those kind of cats. Recently, I don't know, I've been really digging Crazy P's new album, if anyone's been listening to that. Really clean, really fresh, well produced album. But yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch, but probably like, I mean, even just the classics like Purple Disco Machine, loving what he's doing. But yeah, we're kind of trying not to take too many influences. We're just trying to create our own sound at the moment. But,
and that's tight though. That's tight. Like that's the right way to do it, I think. Pete, your thoughts?
I've only really got one that I want to talk about is just from a production standpoint, the goal for me is to get as close to Oliver as I can in terms of production quality, quality of sound, arrangement, all that stuff.
Oliver.
Just Oliver.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. His Power Tools set libraries have just taught me so much about what a good sample is, what a good loop is, bass samples, just so much good stuff. And so I've just used that as a guiding light to be that kind of standard of production as best I can, which goes against, I noticed a lot of like productions these days are very dull in the high end. Everything's soft. And that's a sound and that's cool. But I like clean, bright, clear. So I'm trying to do a lot of that, and he's just the gun of that, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like, Brad, you mentioned a couple of those artists like Crazy P, like Purple Disco Machine. And I can see where the inspo might come from, you know, what you're drawing from that. But I definitely don't like in your guys' music tour. I think more Rob Soul, more JT Donaldson, more
probably
like,
closer to a house vibe, yeah.
Well, even just the way you sampling and like, you know, like it lends itself way more like, you know, I love Crazy P. Purple Disco Machine, not so much anymore. You know, still great production quality. That's undeniable. But
I think it's more the production quality, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm hearing, yeah, like that Phil Weeks just like, I don't know, when I hear it, when I first heard your EP, I was like, I called Adam one. I was like this is just like fuck you house, you know, like I love that shit. Like Pinto does it too. It's unapologetic. It's like fuck you dance, and you don't like it, we used to have to dance to it, so too bad, you know, like,
yeah,
and
it's
that's
too compelling.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, this is,
yeah.
I hate the sample, but I can't stop moving, so I kind of love it now. And that's mad. Like that's what you want, whether people have a choice or not, like they're going to be moving, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's coming strong. So it's really nice to hear. I'm going to ask you another question around people. So obviously live streams are all the rage. Club nights are a thing of the past. But if you had 4 hours to curate a Melbourne Drum Authority lineup in a club night or a live stream, only got 4 hours. You can pick anyone in the world. Who are you calling up off the bench?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It'd probably be, I think Follamore would be in there. Probably some of the cats from Apparel Wax.
Yep.
Chevels, I think, I don't know if I said that right. It'd definitely be, I'd probably want, no, I don't know. I think I'd probably want some local guys as well. There's some local cats, like the Kyoku Records boys. They kill it. Yeah, man, that's a tough one. I think I would want it to be, in terms of sound, it would have to be, if it was going to be like akin to us, it'd have to start with some hip hop and funk, and then kind of slowly build throughout the night.
Yeah.
A lot of our sets are definitely kind of starting from kind of a slower kind of BPM, and then working the way through. We really like the kind of journey, like, because I think any cat can just come into a club and play 14 of their best tracks and just be done with it. Like, I think it takes a lot of skill and a lot of crafting to be able to curate music and to be meticulous about it. I think anyone can learn, but you can't you can't teach taste. So I don't know. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, when Brad and I had a residency in Melbourne for about 4 or 5 years, we were the builder sets. So we were the sets that made the main room go, like the 10 to 1, those kind of ranges. So
Yeah.
I think we have a leaning towards that when it comes to sets as well.
Yeah. Would you agree with the artists that Brad put forward?
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Yeah. Anyone you'd add to the mix?
That's more Brad's expertise.
All right.
See, the value that Brad brings to Melbourne Drum Authority, apart from, he's the vision behind the samples, right? So he gets the stuff, he gets the obscure samples, but I'll lean more in the production when Brad leans more into the sampling and the DJing as well. So the partnership there really works really well, because my opinions on what DJs I would use, I'm not as up to speed as Brad, but what I bring is a different perspective on the production. So that's what seems to work, and that's why I leave it to him.
It's funny as well. Like, we've both studied audio engineering. At the same time, we've both audiophiles in a really strange way. We really value production. We really value the way things are created, and the intent and the purpose behind them. So, like, I think it's funny actually, because I still, to a fault, I dig a lot for music. It's something that's kind of never left me, and I think I'm always feeding Pete tunes. I'm like, dude, listen to this. You got to listen to this sample. Listen to this cut. Listen to this break. Listen to this vocal. Like, you've got to listen to it. He's like, yeah, mad. And I think it's this kind of mad, like, back and forth partnership. And we both have. Pete listens to different stuff to me, and like I'm often listening to really old, weird, like, samba records and obscure sounding like Japanese funk and 70s disco. Like, I don't know, just love
like
it.
Pinto.
But oh, real man, we need to send you some shit. But yeah. So, and I think Pete's always been a far better producer than me. We've both done our own solo stuff and whatever. Thankfully, we've both got an ear for it. So like we can be really open and critical of each other's work and just be like, and not take offense and just be like, I don't like that cut, or I don't like this, or I don't like, you know, the vocals don't sit well, and there's never any, you know, I don't know. It's just easy, you know.
Yeah,
we can just talk like that, and it just doesn't matter.
Well, what it sounds like is you've got that good level of respect, and obviously 15 years of friendship or more is, you know, kind of the foundation of transparency, right? And kind of getting stuff done, because you obviously have the same vision, which is super tight. Pinto, flicking it over to you, my dude.
Alrighty. I'm a little upset I'm not on that lineup, but it's all good now. I'm just playing. Yeah, we're gonna change it up a bit. So let's talk about gear. What are you guys using? What are your preference? Did you start on one DAW? Did you change? Yeah, so let's get gear. What are some of the things you guys like to use?
Yeah, so we probably started with, so the first DAW we used was Rebirth, RB338, and then got into rewiring that to Reason when that came out, and then got to rewiring that to Cubase. We're in Cubase for a bit, and then once Ableton came out with warp marking, it was all over. Like the game was over.
Yeah, yep.
The sound quality is not as good.
I never liked Reason. Just to be.
Reason's hard.
I never liked it. I couldn't get my head around it, especially the patching. I didn't understand it back then.
Yeah.
Like,
so once you hit Cubase and you hit VSTs, I mean, it's a lever, and then that warp marking, it just changed everything. So we've been using Ableton since Ableton 4. So it's 10 now. In terms of any hardware, I've just got, you can see it behind me actually. So you got just the Novation MIDI controller. I've got a Valve amp for headphone, UAD sound card, and then just a PreSonus fader port with some Eve audio speakers.
Nice.
So that's pretty much where it all comes from. In terms of VSTs, probably my favorites at the moment. I mean, Sound Toys is probably the best thing we've ever bought. Easy. That thing is just ridiculous. Everything about it is fat, large, fun, easy, intuitive. In terms of synths, June 3 is really good right now. Really nice.
Omnisphere's always good.
Yeah, some of the wave set, of course, Fab filters. Yeah, I just bought the Ozone set. They're on special. They're really good.
Nice.
But always try new stuff. Like I love like the little like one knob sort of plugins as well, like Endless Smile or Sausage Fattener, things like that. So I'm always on the prowl for new things like that all the time. But yeah, most of our tracks are probably between 30 to 52 layers. Yeah, I again just trying not to be too synth heavy on these new ones. It's a bass line, it's a sampled one, you know, and I'm just like retuning all the time. So with that mantra, it's been a lot of fun.
Right. Cool, man. So if you had the option to be all hardware, would you?
Brad's a hard yes. I'd be on the fence because Brad used to work in a high-end audio store, so he knows all the equipment as well.
Right.
I'd just like to get probably some outboard just for run like a channel strip, just to run polish things through. Even if it's just two channels every time, I think that'll be really fun. That's probably the next thing we'll get. But yeah, hardware is just hardware, right? It's just better.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a nice little AMS Neve 8801 or something channel strip for those that know. I mean, I don't have a spare 5K lying around, but when we do, that's the first thing to probably grab. So yeah, I used to work at a high-end audio store, so I'm not going to name it because I fucking hate them now. But they sell.
No hard feelings, obviously.
But fuck them. Yeah, big time. But I did I've got some gear. I've got like an Electron Rhythm, Microkorg, and a couple of other like little bits and pieces. But yeah, it'd be nice to be a little bit more analog. But I don't know. That's to come. I think that's to come. But,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, I have no gear.
Hey, you got that nice little mixer, that's for sure.
I do have that nice mixer.
I love that shit.
Mixer is that.
Everyone's always asking me about it. I'm like, you can't afford it. I have to
So
insure it,
Joey,
honestly.
what do you use?
What's up? Sorry.
Ooh,
What do you use,
yeah.
Joey? What do you got? What toolkit
What
do
do
you
I
have?
use?
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy, man. I have a mini Nova, some synths, some bass lines,
Nice.
Fruity Loops, chop up
Oh,
some
yeah.
samples, and splice, bro. That's it.
Yeah, Splice is king. It's
Honestly,
unbelievable. They actually have created a market that was so underground, mainstream. It's unbelievable.
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you saw my setup, you'd be like, it's nothing crazy, but it really isn't. I wouldn't. I still use some like sub basses that like Fruity Loops make, though.
Yeah, okay.
But I use a couple of plugins, like, I don't know, CRM once in a while, Massive once in a while, I have Boom Bass. But, dude, literally, I let the sample do the work and then just arrange it the way I want to.
You've done really good with your, I don't know what you're using to warp or make your samples fit, but they're very clean. There's very little artifact in them at all.
Yeah, I mean, so here goes the next question. What are you guys using to chop up samples? Like, are you guys using anything?
Pinto's trying not to give any secrets away. That's why he deflected.
I
That's
use
destroying trade secret.
Then I do it manually sometimes too.
I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
for creativity, Serato sample is
Serato
pretty
sample is
fun.
very good too. I've used
Yeah,
Quick,
that
easy.
gives you things. It makes you think about samples not how you want them, but how it presents them to you. I think is really cool. Yeah, but otherwise, pretty much just like the in-house samplers, or even just rejigging around with just the audio file rather than putting it in any tool to play with is good enough. Like you said, let the sample sing. If it works, it works.
We've been talking about getting. Well, I've been talking about it for way too long. Like getting back into like getting an MPC, like a 2000 XL or something, and then just kind of, sampling directly from vinyl into the MPC. But we'll see. I need to like get my head into it because it's I miss doing that stuff.
Yeah, I spoke to Jason Hodges yesterday, and he was telling me he's working on a new one with Oliver Dollar, and he runs his samples through his SP1200 into the MPC and then out. And I was like, so why do you do that? He's just like, you can't replicate this type of sampling technique. He's just like, it's so OG, and it's just, you're so limited that you're not, and he loves it. And obviously, the proof's in the pudding because their sampling is almost second to none. I would personally put them up there with the best samplers in the world.
Yeah.
And getting that output sound of clean sample with banging drums and less is more is huge for me when I kind of hear those sort of stuff.
I think in especially people who produce house music that's referencing older music, it's an engineering nightmare sometimes because of the amount of density in the original recording that you've got to either complement or mask, and it's a lot of work. So like if there's rhythms that you don't want in your track in the original sample, and you can't just pick and choose what's in the sample, but there's something good or like a vocal, it's a lot of work to make it fit. And so it actually ends up deciding what the rhythm of your percussion that you add is and stuff like that. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure.
Be nice to have an SP1200 though.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's got gear on gear.
That's from like the late
86,
87.
Yeah, he used to have two of them.
SP1200 came out. What the fuck?
Yeah. We was telling me mad stories about like him and Phil Weeks and him and Kink. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, Kink used to sample my shit. I'm like, of course he did.
Kink is the king.
Bro, man, Kink is the king. But look, it's been great to chat with you guys. I got one more question before we wrap it up. I guess what's coming up for you guys? How can we find you? Releases, live streams, all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, man. We got a mix dropping tomorrow. So we've got finally a brand new mix coming out tomorrow. Just a nice little mix set, just to give like a bit of a hint of our kind of sound. We've also got, actually, by the time this video airs, it'll already be out, but we've got a nice little cut of an old school track by the Mayors called Evil Vibrations. That's going to be a free download, and about 4 or 5 tracks that we're kind of fine tuning at the minute. So, and you can find us on on SoundCloud, Melbourne Drum Authority, same with IG, same with Facebook. We're trying to get some, we're just trying to build the sound and build our identity, I guess, online. So,
yeah. The toughest part for us, I mean, it's part for every DJ, right? Like if you're producing music at the moment, you can't hear what a dance floor thinks about it. So we're sort of
that's the worst.
sitting on a few at the moment where we just want to know if it's going to work or not first before we start pushing it out there. But we're really excited with what's coming. This is some really exciting stuff.
We'll send them to Joey.
Pretty much done. Yeah.
Yeah. Play some tunes out, you know?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's killing me not to, because normally what we would do is we would jump into like a local gig and just play it and see how it vibes. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we change it.
Yeah.
Just slide it in, you know. I'm sure you do the same, man.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, you know, you're not going to get that reaction. Sometimes people aren't ready for what you're dropping as well. You know, you've got to take that stuff with a grain of salt. I like to, when like Joey sends me tunes weekly, you know, 5-6 tracks a week, and we're constantly trawling through stuff. And I just download them and play them in my own studio and put them up against records and see how they stand. You know, obviously, you know, things to take into account, mixing, mastering, and all that stuff. But, you know, if you can catch a vibe off it and go, okay, this fits, or okay, it's just not sitting right in the nice, you know, dance world, then you kind of, you know. But that's tight, man. Guys, I appreciate you taking the time. For anyone watching, full episode will be up on YouTube soon. We'll be dropping this in a couple of weeks. MDA, Melbourne Drum Authority, Natural High EP on Refuge, coming out in July. It's hot. I love it. 2 monster tunes. Get familiar.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
Easy,
for having
guys.
us. We appreciate it, man.
No stress.
We really do.
Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Be safe.